The leader of the opposition began his speech by taking aim at the chief ministers calling this a people's budget, saying that instead Fabian Picardo had passed the bill to the people for the government's own failures while trying to convince them that it wasn't his fault. Keith Azopardi rejected the argument that revenue-raising measures are necessary only because of spending on the COVID pandemic. Instead, he said Gibraltar entered the pandemic with a historic level of gross debt, which deprives it of leeway in these economic circumstances. Mr. Azopardi highlighted that the government has had to borrow £50 million more than envisaged in the last budget, bringing the year's total to £100 million, and said the total gross indirect and direct public debt is now over £1.7 billion. He also criticised government overspending, saying instead of being extra prudent with people's money, basic departmental overspend amounted to around £35 million, accusing the government of failing to lead by example and asking people for more for a worse service. The leader of the opposition said the GST agreed with some of the measures announced in the budget, such as the increase of state pensions and disability benefits in line with inflation, the adjustment of income tax rates at the highest end, and means-tested relief for utilities. However, he said the opposition party was concerned over the cruise passenger tax and COVID recovery charge, and suggested the rise in the minimum wage could see a loss of jobs without anything to help businesses through the current turmoil. On the treaty negotiations, Mr. Azopardi said it was 6 years since the Brexit referendum and 18 months since the New Year's Eve agreement, with no permanent deal in place and no knowledge of what the future has in store. He said the opposition wants a safe and beneficial deal, arguing that it should be published in draft so that a debate and perhaps a referendum could be held before ratification. Keith Azopardi said the GST could not support this budget, accusing Fabian Picardo of sacrificing public interest for narrow electoral interest, and arguing that a change in approach was needed towards economic sustainability and tackling the big challenges facing the community.